Driven and Derided episode 4. I'd like to start off today with sort of explaining the title of the show. From henceforth, it's probably going to be different because I don't know if I was just too boring or what, but nobody really watched this little vlog series. But Driven and Derided, it's an allusion to a who the fuck? Oh God, it's been too long since my British English class, British literature class. James Joyce wrote a short story called Araby, and the final lines are: he gazed up into the light and saw himself as a creature driven and derided by vanity, and in the darkness his eyes burned with anguish and anger. It's the story of a young boy who is, I guess you could say he's just discovering his manhood or whatever. It's set back in, like, colonial England or something like that. I don't even know. It's like an olden days setting, and I think he's like 10 or 11 maybe, somewhere in there. And every day he sees this girl down the street. I think she's the sister of a friend of his or something like that. He watches her every day go to school. He becomes infatuated with her, and one day she starts talking about Araby, this like bazaar, this party that all these people go to, and he gets it in his head that he's gonna go and meet her there, and then they're probably gonna fall in love or whatever. But he gets there, and it's a huge disappointment. He doesn't even see her, and then he sort of realizes that all his efforts and all his hopes are sort of in vain, I guess. He was disillusioned, and I sort of feel like this series has always been about like what I'm interested in right now, you know? It's like I'm watching this right now, I'm playing this right now, and I titled it Driven and Derided because I always fear the day that I look back on all this stuff and I find it pointless, or I find it without value. You know what I'm saying? I've put so much time and energy and money into like my DVD collection and my comic collection and my video game collection and my Dungeons and Dragons miniatures collection, and I'm just waiting for the day that I gaze up into the sky and see myself as a creature driven and derided by vanity. So that's just a little explanation of that. Let's get on to the meat of the show. Lately I haven't been doing much. Been driven and derided by many things, I guess you could say. I've got Netflix. I've been enjoying it for about a month and a half now, and it's really great. You know, you can go into Blockbuster and they have a better selection than most video stores, and I was really enamored with them for a long time, but it's just got to be so that it was too expensive. You know, I was spending 10 or 15 bucks there a week for just a couple movies. So I was like, fuck it, I'll try this Netflix, see if it works out, and I really love it. You know, I started off, I rented Freaks and Geeks, watched that all the way through. Then I watched Undeclared, which is basically Freaks and Geeks 2 in some ways, if you're familiar with Judd Apatow. He's got that new movie Knocked Up coming out. I can't wait to see that because his stuff is brilliant, and so is the guy that's been in both of his series. He's the star of the movie. I can't remember what his name is, but he was in 40-Year-Old Virgin. He's fucking brilliant in that movie. And so yeah, I watched those. I watched Degrassi Junior High. Watched a season and a half of that. I'll probably pick that back up as soon as I'm done with what I'm watching now, which is Boston Legal. But first, I want to talk about Firefly. I was always a big fan of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and I watched a season or two of Angel. before I got kind of sick of that. Um, I'd say I'm a pretty big Joss Whedon fan. His run on Astonishing X-Men is nothing short of genius, except this last arc I'm not too excited with. It's been kind of boring, but Cerebro was just brilliant, and I like the new Hellfire Club. That was a good storyline. So there's all this thing of Firefly and how it was canceled in one season, and then they moved it into a movie, Serenity, and it was just always one of those things. I was like, oh, that might be good. I'm not gonna really spend any money on it. But then I was going through my Netflix and I was like, screw it, why not? Turns out this is one of the best shows I've ever seen in my life, and I love it so much. Firefly, and I just finally got Serenity in the mail. I ordered that from deep discount. I wanted to own that. Probably eventually buy Firefly too, but at the moment my funds are a little bit deficient. So yeah, if you're a fan of any of the following: Joss Whedon, westerns, sci-fi, Star Wars, Han Solo, pirates, if you're just a fan of these shows that have these, like, the perfect cast, you know what I'm talking about. The shows where every fucking character is sweet as hell. There's not a moment where you're watching it and you're like, oh man, I can't wait till this guy's scene is over so I can get back to the characters I like. There's nothing like that. The whole show is brilliant, beginning to end. It's funny, it's hilarious, it's dramatic, it's serious, and the special effects aren't that bad either. I know a lot of people probably dismiss it. They're like, space and horses, what's going on? But it works, alright? So go out and check out Firefly, you know? Do yourself a favor. Get Netflix, you get a 2-week trial, just rent the first couple discs in Firefly, see if you like it. If not, you'll like it, trust me. And I also started renting Boston Legal. I'm not normally into these kind of shows where it's people that, you know, like, things that really could happen, you know? I mean, I'll sit there and watch CSI or Law and Order once in a while, but I definitely wouldn't go out and buy a season and watch it beginning to end, because there's just no point, you know? You can click on if I wanted to watch it, there's no point to watch it from episode 1 to episode 3 million, because each episode's a separate storyline, you know what I'm saying? But Boston Legal's not like that. I mean, they do have their self-contained courtroom dramas. Each episode has 1 or 2 cases, and you'll see the beginning of that case to the end of that case, but then there's also the characters and the character story arcs, which are just as important as those colorful court cases, you know. James Spader and William Shatner are brilliant in this show, and the supporting cast is not too shabby either. I'm sort of shaken up, you know. I watched the whole first season already. I'm just finished disc 2 of season 2, and they seem to go through the supporting cast quite quickly. I mean, they started off with like 3 girls, a guy, and then the 2 main characters, and then like 12 episodes in, they get rid of 1 girl, and then at the beginning of this season, they got rid of a couple of the other girls and brought like a few more people in. It's like they've always been there, but they weren't there. I don't know. It really doesn't matter, because the main heart of this show is Alan Shore and Denny Crane, James Spader and William Shatner's characters, and it's not like any other show I've seen. I mean, it's character driven, and I really enjoy it. I'm a huge fan of James Spader. That's pretty much why I started watching it. I got my first taste of him in Mannequin, and then in Pretty in Pink, he plays a guy named Steph. And if you know me, I like to go by the name Steph, and it's my little secret that I chose that for myself because of that character. You know, I told myself that Steph was a good idea for a guy, since his character in Pretty in Pink is named Steph, because it's pretty. It's not there's no precedence for a man to be called Steph, but I still like it, you know. And if you know me, you know that I have a huge few paragraphs explaining why the name Steph makes sense for me. So if you want me to go into that, I'll take a whole separate video to do that, because it's kind of a long story. But yeah, Firefly, Boston Legal, James Joyce, take it easy out there.